listening to the MLS Fantasy Insider, bringing you weekly tips, tricks, and advice for the official MLS Fantasy game. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode. Sorry for the slight delay. Big hats off to Ashley for getting everything worked out while I was on vacation last week. I was just getting some of the settings put back to where I needed them to be for the stream tonight. So just a small delay, but appreciate everyone being here. Hey Patrick, again, also thanks to Patrick for helping fill in. Patrick and Spencer for helping.
Thanks, Patrick. Thank God for Patrick.
Oh, Andrew has seen your sweatshirt, Ashley. Andrew has seen the sweatshirt. He can appreciate it. Great. Yeah, no, we're all three of us are back after some crazy things that have been going on, so we're just keeping it old school, keeping it bare bones tonight, but I'm going to try to work on getting some more of the Patreon guests on. Haven't got Matt Pollard yet because I keep forgetting to reach out to him early enough so I can get onto his schedule as well. So, a few people.
Well, that's not true. We have a guest tonight.
That's true. We do have a guest. Our stealth guest down there.
Add a camera.
Right down there. There it is.
He'll be here for captain choices. Who did he
exactly.
on? What name did he throw up? That's your captain.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you hear weird noises coming from me, that's what's going on.
But the social is out, so if you are with us right now, please do retweet the social out there. It's also shared on Discord. And if this is your first time joining us, or if you're a veteran joining us on the YouTube live stream, hello, welcome. Please do like and share as well. Subscribe if you are so inclined. It's always cool to see those numbers grow and see our community growing on YouTube, just like it is on Discord. Not just. It's a bit more on Discord. But yeah, just so every little bit that everyone can do to help spread the word about our fantasy community is awesome. So that's out there. Otherwise, I am going to lower the volume some on my phone, just in case. And I did realize after the last stream that you can totally hear my son if he starts running around upstairs, so any thuds you might hear of that. And I'll say this again once the stream starts. Apologies for any kind of echoes. The office is still in, the Fantasy Boss studio is still in a state of being built. So once I get more things on the wall, I think that'll help. I noticed the echo last time as well. But we do what we can, so it's all
That's
good.
okay. I made a Blair Witch Project video for us last week, so I don't think you can.
It was really funny at the end because you were like, as Reid always says, and then it just stopped, like the recording just ended, and so I just recorded at the very end like, good luck, and so like that was that was the one little thing. I have to go back and check it out.
No, did you not see the like creepy video it made when I first signed into your account? It was like a test video, and it was all like. Hours. People posted it in Discord, and I was like, I don't know where that came from.
I got the notification that you logged in, but I did not look at it because I was like, oh, she's just testing it out. No, that's
good
fun.
content. Check it out.
It's solid. It's solid one that. All right, that's what you all get for coming in early for the live stream to hear these little things. So, okay, I think we are set to go. So we will have our brief pause so that we can get going with the podcast actually recording. Hello and welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of round 16 of the MLS. Nope, that's it. That's wrong. That's wrong. Cut.
17.
That was, yep. This is 17. This is 17. Look at that. I go on vacation and I'm a total scrub now. All right. Do this
1
again.
week off.
Hello and welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of round 17 of the 2022 MLS Fantasy season. This episode is brought to you by MLS's Canadian Little Italy, aka Toronto FC. Oh wait, no. Sorry. Actually, brought to you by the amazing Patreon supporters of the MLS Fantasy Insider. It's because of you that we are able to continue doing this project. Thank you so much from the bottom of all of our hearts. I'm your host, Reid Connolly from MLSFantasyBoss.com, and tonight I'm joined by my partners in fantasy, Blayne Riffle and Ashley Savage. How are you all doing tonight?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm doing really well. I'm glad to have the gang back.
That's right. Plus our stealth special guest, little Loxley Riffle down there with Blayne.
Easily the cutest one.
You could check it out in the YouTube stream if you want to go back and check that out later after listening to us on SoundCloud or your whatever podcast platform you prefer. To start out, though, big hats off, applause. Thank you so much to Ashley for keeping the podcast going last week when I was on vacation and Blayne was doing baby stuff there. Who's also moved, so Blayne has a lot of stuff going on. But yes, thank you so much, Ashley, for keeping everything going.
I appreciate no one commenting on how insufferable it was to have a husband-wife duo in the mix. I appreciated that. What Reid does is hard, and I think we should all really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Barely got it going. So.
Well, yes, and also thank you to Spencer and Patrick for coming in to help out as well. Kind of last minute additions there, working with all of our schedules. But yes, no, I really appreciate you guys doing that. Quick note as well. I know when I was doing some of the editing, still in the new studio space here with my move, in the process of construction, haven't gotten a lot of stuff on the walls. I know it's kind of echoey. I apologize for that, but once I get more stuff up, that should help. Who knows? If it's not, then I may have to get some little fun foam pads or something like that. We'll make that MLS, I think, in some way. But I'm going to be working on getting that improved as we go forward. Other than that, I want to talk about round 16. What about you guys?
Yeah, round 16 was a doozy. I'm here for it.
It was wild. I will go ahead and own up now. I have a few little takeaways in a second, but I didn't get to watch a lot since I was on vacation at the beach with my son for the first time. He went crazy, so I kept up with some stuff on my phone, watched some of the replay things, mostly Cincinnati focused. But I do have a couple takeaways, but I didn't get a lot of watching myself in. But Ashley, how'd you do with your team?
Yeah, I got a 148. I think I had a 151 at the end of yesterday, but then some stuff got moved around. Defense was a big shit show for me. Callens, Murillo got subbed out. Both of those guys posted threes. But I did have a Rougeau from LA Galaxy who went off that second game. And Wagner, I moved up about 15 spots in overall ranking though to 51, which I'm pretty content with. But my midfield just carried me. I kind of took a lot of chalky picks there that paid off. I had Lucho, I had Maxi, I had Paz, I had Nico, and then all my strikers scored, but I wouldn't say they hit necessarily. And then I rolled the dice, not to rub salt in Blayne's wounds, but I rolled the dice with Coronel in that very messy end of the Red Bull versus Sporting Kansas City got me some shutout points, which I didn't think it would once I turned that game on. But pretty decent week for me. I definitely saw some better scores, but I'm pretty content with where I ended up.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it oftentimes about looking at Tyler's differentials for his differential picks to get to, as I usually say on Twitter, to dust the chalk off your team, or we hear a lot about that chalk talk, but it's not always bad. I mean, there's a reason some of these players are chalk, and hey, it works. Blayne, how did you do?
Not as well as I had hoped. I ended up with the 128, but I got cold feet. I saw the yellow card warning, so I took Ray out of my lineup, or off my sub bench as a sub, and put Areola in. So that one I think cost me somewhere in the neighborhood of 27 points. I got my second score in, which was not Areola off the bench. And then I also got cold feet when I saw Blake's first game. I didn't see enough points. I was like, Bond's got a great set. So I dropped 5 points by putting Bond in instead of keeping Galese in there and then being able to scrub him out. Tuiloma got me absolutely nothing. Callens was a big miss, but then I had Alex Roldan on my defense, so I picked up a few points there. But what really saved me this week is I ended up sticking with it and went Maxi Morales. I know he was a pretty hard differential for a lot of players. I didn't see a ton of play on him.
Oh, I liked him.
Yeah, I was sitting in Discord chat and everybody was like, "Oh, don't go New York City. There's other guys that are better." And I can understand it. I felt like he was a big differential. I probably should have fallen a little bit harder in the ranks or in the weak rank without Reynoso, but because I had Maxi, and I mean everybody I think had Acosta, and then I also went Blanco in the midfield, which was a decent 10 points right there. Could have done better in some spots, but the one big Reynoso blunder probably cost me. I would have been sitting in the top 60 of FCL if I had kept Reynoso in, and instead I'm about 200 or about 300. So hanging out about where I was last week. So I've stayed steady there, but I missed a huge opportunity to move up.
As for myself, I finished on 139, so I felt that was pretty solid. Did pretty well in my head-to-heads. A couple of the Champions League that didn't win, some pretty tight ones there against some players who got in the 150s. But I felt 139 was pretty solid for this round. Climbed in some of the ranks. I also missed out on Reynoso. I too was worried about the yellow card, so I did not go with him. Instead, I ended up going with Driussi. And again, I didn't watch a whole lot, but I got 11 from him off my bench. I got 13 from Wagner. I did the Philly Orlando keeperoo is what I did, and so I got to see that second Philly game. I was like, yeah, I'll take a 17 for a keeper. Glad I did after that Orlando game too. So that worked out for there. Mixed bag. I went with Areola. I know we were kind of all high. People were high on him last week. Didn't turn out well. But I got Ladero, got Acosta, had Blanco come in some solid points with me as well. Mixed bag. Missed some stuff, but hey, I missed some players because of the double game rotations. Because again, didn't catch a lot of the games. But super happy with the performance from Acosta. So can't complain about that. If you got in that, I would say that 130-ish range, you likely saw some movement. If you hit the 140s, 150s, you had an absolutely amazing round. So congrats there. I'm going through chat right here. We got Fizz with 154. We've got Wheeling and Dealing with 156. Amazing right there. So we've got Chandy, who's from Discord, 159. Fantastic scores right there. JoJo with 133. So Patrick 139. Hey, there we go, buddy. There we go. Lots of great scores in chat right there. But Shannon 147. Congrats, Shannon. Good job.
Nice.
Good job.
I gotta give a shout out to I think it's Cam, right? He edged out Ryan Anderson by 1 point in our Experts Invitational head-to-head, which helped me move up to second place.
There we go.
So that one was back and forth. It was awesome.
Yeah, some good scores. Quick update about this. This third round is going to be over in 2 more rounds, including this round. Round 17 and 18 are the last 2 rounds for the third quarter qualifier for the Champions League, and the fourth and final quarter qualifier starts with round 19. So don't forget about that. There's still time if you're trying to make it. I think I'm going to finish a little bit under in this third one. I was getting up there, and I've fallen back a little bit the last couple of rounds, but
this week is all rivalry week, and then the next round, which is the last round before this Champions League window closes, is a massive double game week again. So if you're on the bubble, don't feel too discouraged, because that double game week is where you can really catch up to some folks. So.
And just in case you're listening, I don't know if you are, but a big shout out to Skirtus in our Discord community, who was the number 1 team of the week with a score of 187.
Ooh, the Captain Reynoso?
I do not know. I did not look at his team. I should have. Just got that update from Ranch. But yeah, big shout out to Skirtus. If you're a listener, that's awesome. You're definitely a member of the community, so you deserve that shout out just for that. Let's talk about what we learned from this week. So I'm going to go first since I have a few little things, and I'll let you all wrap it up. Love seeing FCC scoring. Hate seeing FCC scored upon. That is definitely a habit I did not want to see come back. All those late goals scoring in there. But what I take from that is Brenner was amazing in that first game, and there's been some talk about the combinations of up top of who would be there in that 2-man setting, and this is definitely more of a conversation for Brenner, maybe finding some of his form. So keep an eye out on that. Vasquez Baji, Vasquez Brenner, or something like that could be some combinations we see, and under the right circumstances might have some good options if some of that scoring's there, and Acosta still providing that. So loved seeing that against New York, and the draw against New England. Those are two competent teams that Cincinnati went up against. So I think we're probably away from Cincinnati being total hot garbage, and they're solidly in that sort of as you see it situation. But I think one of the good takeaways here, fantasy-wise, is just looking at that pairing up top, and you could find some differential options right there. Mm-hmm. And then also, I know we mentioned them a week or two ago. Check out the last couple of weeks of Vancouver's scores. They've gone up against some decent teams as well. They haven't just been giving away everything. So if you're looking at, I was looking at some stuff this week and I'm like, ooh, do I want to bet against Vancouver? Which is kind of a thing I got in the habit of doing. And no, I really don't think that's what you want to look at. So they've started to tighten it up and maybe even have some attacking options that you want to look at under the right circumstances. But those are just couple of takeaways that I got just from some quick looks right there. Ashley, what about you?
Yeah, Bill Tuiloma red card burned a lot of people this week, I think. Portland defense always freaks me from I promise a non-biased perspective. Portland defense always freaks me out, and it's always because of red cards. Like they always make me nervous. They can be a little leaky, not always at home, but that red card I think got a good amount of people. I know he was on a lot of people's teams this week. Speaking of leaky, NYCFC just the week we all have Callens just getting crazy leaky with the goals. What was it? 7 goals across the weekend, or 6?
6. It depends on if you have things called back or not.
I mean, that's more than we've seen all season. That's a lot of goals from a defense that's been pretty solid. I'm not going to try to analyze why, even though I have my opinions, but I just think that's important to pay attention to as New England comes to them, as we go into the rest of this Champions League round, to just pay attention to the fact that, that defense is not as formidable, at least this past weekend it wasn't, as it has been. On a positive side, to all fantasy players, Zella is back.
Yeah.
I know when I saw his name in that first lineup, I thought, oh, he'll go max 120, maybe. Probably just 60 minutes in this game. But, he went 150 minutes. He went 59 minutes in the first game and got 4 points, which would have been 5 if he'd gone a minute longer. And then he got an assist in the second game, and he went the full 90 minutes. So, I haven't been paying super close attention to what that injury was that was keeping him out, how much he's been training, but he went 2 games on a double game week. So it's time to remember him. And I think their new striker should be starting to come into the fold pretty soon, which will be good for Zella. There's not a lot to say. I think if you just looked at scores last week, Reynoso just came to play. And Taxi and Tati were on fire this weekend, just putting in goals left and right. Right before Tati scored, my husband was going on a tangent about how he's not good enough to play in Europe, like all these rumors are, and then he posted a brace, so I really enjoyed that, because you guys know I love Tati.
Yep.
So, yeah, just some great goal production from those 3 guys, and then, like I said, Zella, keep an eye out.
Yeah, and you're definitely right about the new signing. Did you mention the new signing, or was that just in my head?
I did say that. I said I believe he's starting to get worked in.
That's right. Chucho, he's not in the game yet, but that is definitely something we were talking about a week or two ago about keep an eye on him, especially once Zella comes back, and he seems to be coming back hot. So that there was a thought that he could be available this week. I don't know if that's true. I was trying to do a real quick search, and I just didn't find it. But I don't know when he's going to enter.
They didn't train today, but I think he's with the team or just arriving with the team.
Okay.
Didn't train because of thunderstorms, so it was the whole team that didn't train.
Okay.
It
was like a superstitious thing, like, no, I don't do this.
Yeah, no. Whole team. He's expected to be on the roster for the weekend, but whether he starts is way up in the air.
Yeah.
So we've got Tyler's confirmed that he is confirmed to be available this weekend, so he may dip into it. Not in the game yet. I'll talk with Skylar and see if I can find an update about when some of these players may be coming in. But if you're looking in fantasy right now for
going to
Chucho
Vancouver.
Hernandez, Yeah, he's not there, so don't worry about it.
Also,
Lots of these guys I don't think are going to be in there right now, but we'll mention those in the next.
Caleb Porter is also a big bluffer, so take that for wait till you see the roster until you get really invested in that. But I respect it.
That's right. Instead of Chucho, it's Easton. That's who's coming in there. Right there. Blayne, anything from you?
Yeah, New York City's still scoring. I know Ashley talked about their defense, but huge change of pace here. Maxi Morales is back at the 10 and had a pretty solid week there. And Santi has basically faded into nothingness at this point. 2s and 3s his last few games. I was really high on him to start the season. When he was playing the 10 with this team, everything was going right. He is not working on that right wing very well. It's just he's a good player. I think he's still doing a lot for the team. So I don't think he's going to be benched, but he's popping 2s, 3s, and 4s from that right wing spot instead of those 8 to 12s that we were used to from the central midfield. Another one, just because I've been watching this team and draft is always a big one. Magno seems to be the beneficiary of Maxi coming in as well. Tati's still going to be Tati, but it looks like it's Maxi and Magno that are really linking up and getting a lot of work done right now. So take that for what it is. Other than that, I didn't have a whole lot. It kind of was business as usual this week. The names we thought were going to go off did go off. Various degrees of success. I know some chat was talking about Pozuelo a little bit. Reynoso was up there. Driussi was there. We had a lot of double-digit scores from the guys we expected to get double-digit scores. Oh, and I guess all of my draft leagues would be upset if I didn't bring it up, and I know it comes up in Discord every once in a while. Mason Toye has come on really strong now that he's playing. Montreal forward, cheaper right now. I don't have a price on him. Probably talk about him a little bit later. But Kyoto seemed to have fallen out of favor a little bit. There's been some rotation between him and Kai Kamara. And if Toye's going to come in and start scoring like he has, which I think he had a brace in the second game there.
First game.
Or first one. Whatever. He had a brace somewhere in there. If he's going to come in and do that, I expect him to start looking at locking down a starting role pretty fast.
He's 7.4 million.
7.4, yeah. Just they've done a 2-striker set with Kyoto and Kamara up top. They've done Kamara and somebody else up there. I could definitely see them sticking with the 2-striker set with Kyoto or Kamara and Toye up top. I expect he's going to be in there, and at 7.4, he's a guy you cannot keep off your radar. And he had a monster week this week if anybody was brave enough to take him.
Yeah.
A couple of good questions from chat that we'll cover real quick as part of the section before we go on. Plus, I will say Maxi looking good at the 10, looking bad at the 12. So don't always want to go with that. But FC Dallas, question brought up, why are they bad? Are they overperforming? Last 6 games, FC Dallas has 1 win, 3 losses, 2 draws. So they've been a team that people were often high on. We mentioned Areola was somebody people looked at. What's up with them now? Ashley, you want to weigh in on that?
I think the West is just a tricky place right now. I think that the way that the West is for teams is difficult. I don't see, when I watch FC Dallas, I don't see a ton of cohesion, if that makes sense. Like, I think that they have some really good players. I think Paxton Pomykal is a great player. I think Jesus Ferreira is a decent striker. I think that he plays in a very different role for FC Dallas than the national team plays him in.
Yeah.
And I think possibly coming back from that national team setting to a different position, he's not adjusted as well. Paul Areola has always been hit or miss, always. Wherever he's been for fantasy, he's always either gone off or he's done nothing. And so, they had a little bit of keeper rotation for a while, a little bit of backline rotation for a while. I think they're just hitting the midpoint of the season and people are getting used to them. And their game plan is not working the way that it was at the start of the season in the West. So I don't think they're players to fade for fantasy necessarily, but yeah, I mean, I think the FC Dallas hype should possibly die down just a little bit, and it should be more matchup dependent, not always, if that makes sense. Like there was a string of games where people would pick up Ferreira every game. I don't know that we're there anymore, but I don't know that I think that they're bad. I think that the West is really good, and they're not as good as their early season performance led us to believe.
There we go. And the second follow-up, this one has to go to Blayne. Blayne, sometimes Vela, or is it still never Vela?
I'm still never Vela. I'm owning it all season.
Yeah.
3 assists over his last 2 games, but of course he did only play 1 game of this double, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
how he is with Bale, right? Let's see how that might change your stance, Blayne.
No, probably not. I'm just going to ride it out through the end of the year.
Never Vela, maybe Bale. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Blayne there, but the big Classico coming up, so we'll see what happens there. The last update that I'm going to make before we move on to our second segment, thank you so much everyone in chat who threw out some thoughts there as well, is just in case you were looking, again, the final update, there was no triple game week this week for LA. There was no double game week for San Jose. I know that the games were listed there. We had that confirmed from Skylar that it was just a glitch that they weren't able to get taken out. The points are going to be applied to the correct round in September, I believe, whenever that game does roll around. So with hope, that will get at least moved by then. But yes, that is what happened. No, it did not happen. So sorry if you were looking for a triple. That will never happen. Will never happen. A triple. I mean, that might even make LA worth picking up. So there we go. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for bringing in those takeaways. Now we're going to get into our housekeeping section for this round. I'm doing like a namaste thing here. For those of you in the video, I don't know what's going on. It's like,
I like it.
I don't know, like my phone beeped, and I was just like, there we go. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Social. Oh no, the social freaked out on me. Let me go to the social real quick. Bazinga. No, stop.
While we're stopped for a second, I'm gonna try to set the baby down in his chair.
I'll take it.
He is hot.
That totally misspelled that. MLS Fantasy? No. MLS Fantasy. Who's in? Who's out?
Okay.
See, I get this cool little thing that lets me just hit a button and retweet all this stuff, and every now and then it's like, nope, don't want to do it. Don't want to do it, Reid. Well, El Gato, I see how you are. All right, there we go. That's out there. Let's move on to that. All right, let's talk housekeeping for round 17. First off, do a quick league update. I know we haven't gotten a full league update since my move. Want to make sure we get the good shout out to everyone. This time with all 3 of us back here for our leagues. The Classic Leagues, leading for our Discord is Costan35. We're at our Patreon Open League, also the Classic League. FC Lambo is on top right there. Moving over to our head-to-head leagues, the Discord head-to-head, it is Garth Butcher's back on top there, one of our Patreon supporters. Speaking of the Patreon head-to-head league, Ryan Anderson, Lineup IQ, is on top, as he's been for a lot of the season right there. Check out his Patreon as well. Get some good stuff, good access to Ryan's content there. Moving on to the MLS Fantasy Experts Invitational. I forgot to add that. It's Donut. It was Donut last week too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It's Donuts this week, followed not so closely by me.
By Ashley. It's Donuts with a 12-2-2, followed by Ashley with a 12-0-4. Blayne, you're at number 7, and I think I moved up to 11 right there. I had a pretty, let's see here, not so close game with Ben Bear.
You guys play each other this week. Is this our first?
Is it?
You guys play each other. In that
Here we go. MLS Fantasy Insider Derby. Right there.
Derby. for Derby week.
There it is. There it is right there. Pro Rel League updates right here have been fantastic. I love what this is doing, and I love the back and forth that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to keep this going. Champions League, it is a two-way tie between Donuts and Todd Modisette. So Todd was there, I think, the last couple of weeks. Donuts is back there tied with a score of, or a record of 12-1-3, but it's Donuts by points. So that's what's got him on top right now. What about the Veterans League, Ashley?
Yeah, we have a new leader who was a previous leader, but this is the first time that we've had someone new for a couple of rounds, and it's throwing in the cowl, which you guys know I love a good pun. So Columbus icon, but I like the Cade cowl pun. So they are back on top by record now.
Awesome. And Blayne, our development league.
Yeah, it's still FC Red Bull Green Mountain. There's 4 teams tied at that 14-0-2. It's coming down to points. But that league has just been really tight. It's just Jordy for MVP took the top spot for a little bit, but he's fallen back down. I mean, it's 3 points separating those top 2 guys right now.
There we go. I love it. I love the back and forth. I love the head-to-heads. You guys know that if you've listened for a while. So this has been absolutely fantastic. And maybe if we keep asking for it, we could get something like this just built into the game. How fun would that be?
There's no fun.
All right, let's talk about the actual mechanics of this round 17. Everything starts Friday, July 8th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Philadelphia versus DC. That's not the only game that we have. We have 3 games. Also at 10, we have LA versus LAFC versus LA Galaxy with our El Trafico. And then at 10:30, we have Vancouver versus Minnesota. So we got 3 games right there. Definitely some fantasy options. So be sure that you have your lineup set. It's Friday, so that's why we're coming to you on Tuesday instead of Monday, because the weird last round and thankfully a later start.
Oddly, every other game is on Saturday. There are no Sunday games this round, just so everyone is aware.
That's right. The next set is Saturday, July 9th, starting at 1 p.m. with New York City versus New England. Then there's a 4:30 p.m. game with Seattle versus Portland. And then a whole bunch of 7:30 games and a few 8s, 8:30s, and a 10 to round it all out. So you're going to want to make sure you have things all set for that. There are no teams on a bye, no teams on a double, so it's a nice, regular, straightforward round. If you're looking for switcheroo targets, we, of course, Vancouver's got some of our favorite options. Colorado has, I think, some decent options this week if you like a late switcheroo player to keep an eye on your lineups and everything. So there are definitely some 4.0s out there to help make your switcheroos and your budgets work. We do have some injury suspension updates. A lot of crazy things happened last week and some new additions that we may have. Blayne, do you want to jump into this one? You want me to run through it? Courtesy of Tyler.
You can run through it for Tyler.
All right, so courtesy of Tyler, some of the notable returns. Of course, we've already mentioned Zelarayan is back. Sebastian Lletget is also back, and Mason Toy has exploded back into the scene with 2 goals versus Seattle, as Tyler put it. With the summer transfer window, we're going to see more people coming in, but right now, for sure, we know that Chucho Hernandez is coming in to Columbus. Gareth Bale, as we mentioned, is coming into LAFC. Again, that's a short-term one right there, just as we're getting ready for the World Cup. We all know my... we had to go through that in our little group chat as well. I was like, Bale! And they were like, Reid, calm down. And I was like, but Bale! And they were like, Reid, calm down. I was like, come on, you Spurs. Then we have Giorgio Cellini over at LAFC. We have Eric Tommy at Sporting Kansas City. Is that right, Blayne? Or does it have some weird pronunciation? Okay. I mean, I can see it. I mean, like, it's Eric Tommy. They're like, no, it's Eric Tommy.
It's Chiellini and Tommy, but...
So, see, that's exactly what it would be.
I'd asked Spencer earlier.
That's okay. That's okay. And then over at Toronto, Lorenzo Insigne is coming in, which is probably good because has it been confirmed pause to Miami now, or is that still in the works?
Oh, that's confirmed.
That's confirmed?
Yeah, that's confirmed.
I don't think that was confirmed when Tyler was working this, but yeah. Pozuelo transferred to Miami, and then also some side notes. Raul Ruidiaz expected to be back this weekend for Seattle. And if you're looking at Jack Price, that his probably going to be a while. His calf injury is apparently worse than expected. Red cards and suspensions. Kip Keller from Austin got a red card. Sean Nealis from Red Bulls got a red card. And possibly Diego Costa may be getting a red card. or Cabral maybe getting a red card depending on some of the disco stuff right there. So keep an eye on
Cabral
that.
got it in the game. Is there a thing with Diego Costa, like a post?
Yeah, I think there's a review. There's a review going on just to see if that's going to stand. So
got it.
Keep it up. I don't know if they were on your radar or not, but just some updates right there. Injuries: Tom Edwards from Red Bulls with an ankle. Rudy with Austin. He passed out on the field, so keep an eye on that one. Pereira had hamstring injury with Orlando. Hindman over at Atlanta had an injury during warm-ups. Those are the worst.
Atlanta.
Murillo over at LAFC had an eye injury. Fernandez at Red Bull had an injury, as did Kevin Arriaga and Danny Musavicki, LAFC. You guys, you're just throwing this at me, Tyler.
No one's picking him up. He's owned by 0.00% of people. So
which could be a good switcheroo.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the main updates that we have. Most of it, what you're going to want to consider is looking at that transfer window to see what kind of good options and some differentials may be coming into the league, depending on your level of comfort with the new players coming into MLS. As you know, I tend to be in that camp of let's wait and see. But maybe some of these players are going to be of the quality that you might work. Continue to follow the differentials article that Tyler publishes at MLSFantasyBoss.com to find out his takes on who you might want to consider who may not be high on your radar, not the chalkiest of picks. And if you want to get more in-depth about these injuries and call-ups when they happen and red cards, head over to the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord, and you can go down to our Fantasy Tools section and check out the Mega Reference, which is updated as much as we can for people who don't get paid to do fantasy stuff. But we try to keep it as up-to-date as we can with these injuries because MLS does not have great injury reporting. But go over to MLSFantasyBoss.com/Discord. That is the easiest way to find out how to get to the Discord community and become a member. It's free. It's fun. We have great tools right there. And I just can't say enough good things about our Discord community. Head over there and check it out to get access to resources such as that. Ashley, Blayne, anything else that you guys want to add for this injury section?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, then next, as always, for our third and final segment, we're going to be talking about the player picks that we have or targets that we have for round 17. I start doing that like Namaste thing again. I don't know what's up with that. Yeah.
It's friendly, calming.
Phonetics. Can you spell all names for us that are like beforehand, please? I mean, that's a good comment, actually.
Well, it's because he spelled it out all nice for us, and then I was like, man, that would be nice.
Musavicki.
Musovski.
I mean, isn't part of the fun always been like hearing me butcher the names?
I think so.
Like, people get mad at me, but I mean, again,
you threw it in there. I liked it.
Free. So, I don't know. I think it's part of it. Oh, okay, let's see here. Does this one work? Oh no, the automatic does not work. I'm gonna unplug it, plug it back in. It's like the classic tech stuff right there. To just, have you tried? Anybody watch the IT crowd?
Oh, love that show.
Have you tried turning?
No idea what you're talking about.
Hello, tech support. Have you tried turning it on and off again?
Isn't that how you fix stuff? Is that not?
That didn't work. All right. Anyway, let's do this thing. Okay. Quality behind the scenes chit chat this week.
Mm-hmm. You should have seen me last week trying to pause for everything.
You did good. I appreciate it. All right, let's start talking the player targets we have for round 17, starting as always with our keepers and defenders. Ashley, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I like, when we look at keepers, we kind of look at who plays first and who plays later. I like Andre Blake this week. I know Taxi just went off, but when I'm looking at the Friday games or the early games on Saturday, I like Andre Blake to start on my bench for a keeperoo. And then I'm thinking of doing Zach McMath as a backup if Blake doesn't post a shutout. I'm kind of going back and forth about that second one. I'm considering the Chicago keeper as well. But I do like starting with Blake. I'm going to go ahead and say it here, not to hop onto some of your guys' picks later, but Seattle hasn't won a home game against Portland in like, I'll look it up so no one gets mad at me about the data, but I think it's like 4 years. It has been a while. It doesn't happen. So even though Seattle is currently playing well, it is important to note that they tend to beat Portland at Portland the past few seasons, and lose at home to Portland. So I'm not crazy confident in Stephen Fry or the Seattle defense. In the regular season, the Sounders are 5-5-1 at Providence Park, but are only 2-4-2 at Lumen Field. Since the start of 2018, the Sounders are 0-4-1 at home against Portland and 5-1-0 on the road. I don't enjoy Stephen Fry this week. I'd love to be proven wrong. I will lose all the points to Seattle holding that shutout, but I'm very cautious with that Seattle keeper and defender situation. I feel like I want to go back to Callens this week, but I think that might be wrong. He's such a good bonus point producer. He gets up in those offensive roles that makes me want to like him. It's what we've all liked about him in previous weeks. But I just don't know with the Revolution coming in. I don't know. I'm a little cautious there after the two games that they just had. I like Herrera for RSL. I think people tend to kind of go with Justin Glad, but I'm kind of intrigued with Herrera in the wingback position this week going up against Colorado. I like Wagner for Philly. I think I'll probably have him in my lineup, but I'm just struggling with defense this week. I kind of like Montreal, but I feel like Sporting can still score. I was oddly drawn to FC Cincinnati, but that feels like the wrongest part to choose from that team. There's a lot of good going on there, but I don't know that a lot of it's the defense. So I'm just kind of struggling with defense this week. I kind of like Alex Roldan just from a bonus point perspective. Like I said, I actively do not see a shutout happening for Seattle. But he might be a bench play with the hope for some assists because he's been doing really well on that wing, especially when Christian plays in front of him. So I'm kind of just scrapping together some names this week for defenders. I just don't feel super confident. So whenever I see some lineups, I think you guys do the same thing. Whenever I see lineups where shutouts don't scream, like I don't see one that I'm like, oh, that's a great shutout opportunity, I tend to just go for bonus point producers. So that's kind of what I'm looking at this week. I also am considering Columbus. I know Vancouver scored and they've been doing well at home, but they haven't been scoring a lot at home. So I'm considering picking up one of the Columbus defenders, but like I said, I just don't love a lot of defense this week.
No, that makes total sense. Let's see here. As for myself, I'm in that same boat of, I've seen some people in chat mention it, like I don't know who I want for my keeper. I didn't have some really big standouts to me as I was going through. Honestly, what I have right now is Blake and Fry. I was going to see what happens with that Seattle game. I was going to see what happens with that Philly game because I think it's good to have that split with the Friday and the Saturday games. Seattle is the absolute last game I think is going to be a solid keeperoo, unless you really have some faith in RSL. Maybe you could do it with that. But I have it on Blake and Fry right now. But what I'm really planning on doing is, as I mentioned earlier, checking out Ryan Anderson's lineup IQ stats, seeing what some of his percentages look like to see if that ends up being what I stay with. But that's what I have right now. Defense, little mix, kind of like Ashley. I do have Glad. I have Wagner, and then I have Tolo on there. I was going pretty light with the defense this time, trying to put a lot into my attack this round. So just some pretty basic stuff right there. And Tolo was honestly more of a budget pick. I started out with Rodon, but I needed to save 0.2 at some point, and so that helped me for some crazy stuff I was doing up top. But again, I'm really waiting to see some more of the defensive stats before I solidify this and maybe try to find some bargains there. What about you, Blayne?
Yeah, I didn't have as much trouble as you guys seem to have had or whatever. It just, I, I identified the two games I really wanted, and Philly was the first one.
Yeah.
We always talk about it. You never chase a guy who just had a hat trick. That means Taxi's going to regress just a little bit. Still a good player, but it's first game of the week. So, I mean, it's Blake and Wagner easy. Bonus points are there. Potential is there. And you just go with it. And the second game I identified was that RSL game at the end. I don't trust Colorado with what they're doing. RSL's shown to be a decent enough defense lately. I will take a chance on that. I think they've got one of the better clean sheet chances out of everybody. Look for Ryan lineup IQ's stuff to come out and see if he confirms what we're saying. But that was McMath, and I went ahead and went Glad for this one. I just like the way he's playing, little less chance of cards there. Both of their wingbacks are known for picking up cheap cards. And then I know chat asked it. I do like Orlando's defense this week. Bonus points are there. They just got shelled. I will almost always consider a team that just got shelled when they're a defense I've liked throughout the year, just because they usually come back stronger. Coach makes them run a few wind sprints or whatever during the week to make up for it. Five from DC at home is a nightmare game, and now they get to stay at home against Miami, kind of one of those rivalries. I'll take a flyer on them just because I didn't like any of the defenses, really. The ones we've got, Ashley poked holes in the Sounders. New York has been good, but it's the Revolution coming in. Like, that's a hard game. Columbus is getting better, and they're playing Chicago, who's been a good defense. I struggle to find anybody that has a good defense that I like more than these, and so that's kind of where I'm going. The only other one that I think we would do a disservice if we didn't ask, we talked about Dallas being in a funk. They can score. They usually score, but Houston's defenses look better, and this is another road game for Dallas. So look for anything there. I do think you could go for Houston if you wanted a few differentials.
And just something came to. Oh yeah, let's take a look real quick. McMath is 9.9, Blake 9.6. So I just thought that was a fun little thing to look at. That McMath is actually more expensive. But we mentioned that a couple weeks ago that RSL was a team that people I think had gone under the radar. They've been definitely improving, and McMath is definitely a solid pick right there. Going through chat real quick. Yeah, I see a lot of the same teams. People are looking at Orlando. People are looking at the same information, that the same teams that we're talking about right here. Anybody new? People agree that New York City is a trap game, so definitely potentially be careful with that one. That's why I also dropped Callan's. Not really sure about that. Some other people mentioned maybe Tinnerholm, hoping for some offensive production right there, but might be kind of risky. That New England definitely has been allowing some goals since they've had their changes as well, but it's still definitely potential for scoring both sides. As we saw, New York give up 6 goals last round as well, so definitely something to worry about. Let's move on to midfielders. Blayne, who are you looking at?
Midfield was
No, that was me. I'm all confused.
Oh. Midfield was a little different this week. I didn't realize Pereira came off injured, but I started kind of looking at Orlando and Miami. So Facundo Torres was an early ad. I liked Pereira, and I may still look at him if he's healthy, but it's so late, it's hard to have a fallback for him. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and pull him out. And then it was Lucho again, homed in Red Bulls. Red Bulls are a team that's kind of streaky, but I believe they picked up a red card on defense in the last game. Mielis got one, so that'll change things up a little bit. I am going with Ladero versus Portland. It is one of those rivalry games. I expect him to get the bonus points like he always does, and I was struggling. I'm going to go ahead and throw Gazdag on my bench. I know chat's been talking about him, that he's dead to them. But it's that opening game. It's an easy bench play. DC is not one of the stronger defenses right now. I think it's worth a shot. And then if I can't have Pereira, I'll probably try to go Reynoso on the road against Vancouver. Vancouver's a team I've been picking against quite a bit. I think they are getting slightly better every week right now. Their midfield solidified a little bit. But if Minnesota's firing like they were these last two games and Reynoso's leading it, it's hard to shy away from him in that type of form.
I mean, I am going to say about that, like I mentioned earlier in the show, Vancouver won last week 1-0 to LAFC, and there is definitely potential for scoring with LA. And then 2 weeks ago, it was 0-0 against New England. And people do, I mean, that they have had their changes, but they still do have Heel right there. Of course, they did drop 4 to Seattle 3 weeks ago. So, but they did beat Dallas as well at that time. So, I don't know. I feel like on the road against Vancouver is kind of risky, but we'll see. We'll see. That's why. And Tyler adds Vancouver has 4 clean sheets in their past 5 games. So except that 4-0 loss at Seattle. Ashley, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I want 8 midfielders this week. And my problem was I also like a lot of road midfielders this week, which I know is wrong. I kind of like Almada for Atlanta. I have a weird gut feeling with Atlanta that my head is trying to talk me out of. I like Heel. Historically, I think, and someone will fact check me and tell me I'm wrong, but I feel like he doesn't traditionally play well at Yankee Stadium. I'm so cautious with New England lately, but I think it's really hard to ignore him with that matchup this week with just what New York City's defense was looking like the last 2 games. I do like Ladero. I don't know that I think he's the best offensive pick for the Sounders this week, but he does usually show up in these rivalry games. I like him. I like Mukhtar on the road. Not sure if that's super crazy, but I do like him. I also like Lucho. I think that, like Blayne said, with the defensive missings, Edwards hurt, and then Nealis got a red. I think that he should do well at home, but again, always makes me nervous betting on Cincinnati, even though they've proven that I think we can for now. I think Zella is an interesting road option. Again, I know I think I'm being a little gambly there. I don't know that he's back to full Zella-ness. But then I also think Reynoso was a decent pick, but again, I hear the claims for Vancouver. I think I just don't ever take Vancouver seriously when they start to do things well, which could come back to bite me. But I think a lot of people are going to look at Reynoso and look at the point production he just had. But I think we know from years past that once he starts to click, those points come, and he's not goal dependent. He's not a goal and assist dependent point producer. He's a bonus point producer. He's a 10. So yes, he does need the goals. Oh, here comes Tyler, stat checking me about and Revolution at NYCFC. I don't know. I think Reynoso is an okay pick this week. I don't think it's point chasing. It's just trying to figure out if that road game is better than some of these other midfielders. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
I think that's totally fair. As for myself, I agree. There's so many midfielders that I want. A lot of the standard ones that people have, I think, are Acosta, Ladero, Heel. That's pretty standard 3. Morales, I've seen in a lot of teams that people have mentioned. It seems like those last 2 are the big switch. I have Zella with what he did last week and going up against Chicago, which I still don't rate very high. I like that potential right there. The pivot that a lot of people have, Mukhtar is a very common one that I've been seeing in chat, and I thought about myself. Reynoso, very common one that I've been seeing there. Torres, like Blayne had mentioned, and let's see here, and Almada. I think those are the next set that you would look at. I saw a Gazdag in chat. I don't know. He's just not been consistent enough for me to want to go with. I mean, for Philly, beyond their defense, I really struggle to find some consistency there with their attacking players. But yeah, there's so many midfielders, I think, and even the away ones aren't that bad. Heel, very good chance of getting points at New York City with the form that they've had. Zella definitely has opportunities with his form, if that holds up, to go against Chicago with some of their performance. Even though I think that Vancouver is not as leaky as they were, Reynoso is an excellent player. Obviously, has changed there. So there are. I think that the away players with Mukhtar and Charlotte, there's another one right there. They definitely have the opportunities to get goals, and it'll be a nice mix, I think, to find out where your balance is. So this should be fun. This will be where a lot of the differentials happen. We'll see if Tyler has a solid midfield section for this week. Let's go on to forwards now. Ashley.
Yeah, I also struggled here this week. I don't know why. Midfielders, I have too many defenders and strikers. I can't settle on any. I do like Tati this week. I think that the New England backline, new goalie situation, I think that bodes well for him. I'm interested in, and before Blayne rolls his eyes at me, it would be a bench play. I'm interested in Vela this week, depending on what that lineup rolls out. I'm not, you guys know this, I'm not hot on the Bale train. I don't think he's going to come in here and just light the league on fire. I've followed his career relatively closely, and he's not going to come in and be David Villa or someone like that. I think he's going to be more of a Frank Lampard type, if I'm being completely honest, with a big name and not a ton of production. But he's a still really talented player. So if I see any sort of Bale indication there, I'm considering Vela, not Bale. And I also love El Trafico. There's always goals in that game. Has there ever been a 0-0? I feel pretty confident no. It's hard to know where the goals are going to come from with LAFC, but I like LAFC better in this Trafico, and so I want him, Vela or Chicho, I think, on my bench. I've really enjoyed watching Araujo for Atlanta the last couple weeks, and his points haven't necessarily produced what I've watched when I've watched the games. He's just getting in all the right places and having all the right looks, and I think with Almeida back now and Josef as well, I just really think that the points are going to start producing for him. He's someone that I'm considering, but I keep going back and forth between him and Savarino, which I know will upset Tyler. But if you want to talk point producing, Savarino, since he started playing for RSL, has really produced. And that Colorado defense is just not what it used to be. I don't know that it's ever been that solid this year, to be honest. Rocky Mountain Cup usually produces some goals. So I am considering Savarino. I mean, he's got what? 2 goals in 3 games. Because his first game was just as a sub. And now the game he didn't score a goal, he just had minutes played, which is a little concerning, but I like him this week. I don't know if I consider him a differential, but I do like RSL in that matchup, and I'm leaning towards him over a midfielder.
Blayne, what about you?
Yeah, I think this one's harder because you've got way too many good options.
Yeah.
It's not that we're struggling to find enough guys. Now I've got too many.
Yeah.
I'll start off, and I think I'm gonna just blow it up and say, Ranch, you can't use him. He's not a differential. Severino's one of my borderline must-owns this week. He's so involved creatively all around there, and so many bonus points. Against Colorado, I think he's right up there as one of the few must-own type of players that you could say, if he goes off, he's going to have a monster game. If he doesn't go off, he's still going to be one of the better point-producing forwards for the round. So I don't think he's a differential at this point, and chat seems to be dropping his name a whole lot too. I do like Tati as well this week. It's that home game. It's the way they're playing. I still think NYC is one of the best teams in the league, probably the best attacking team in the league. You want the forward from them against any defense that is giving up goals. And the Revolution have been giving up goals. So I can't shy away from him at this point. And then my third guy that I've got in there right now is actually one I talked about earlier. I like Toy on the bench versus Kansas City. He's done some damage to us in the past. The way he plays can get behind our guys. I just think it's a recipe for disaster for us to have to go against him. So assuming he starts, I think this is a great week to try to pick him up and just exploit a weak defense and you do have some options behind him. Like I said, he's a bench play. I could see either striker in the Toronto or San Jose game if you want to go Jimenez for Toronto, or take a Bobasi for San Jose. We've been picking against Toronto a lot, and apparently now they're shopping Salcedo. They don't want to keep him around, so who knows what's up there. Orlando's got Kara, who has been playing better lately. If you don't trust Miami's defense, you got to fall back there. A little bit lesser name on that Quintero for Houston has been scoring a lot more lately. He's in a decent run of form. I don't know that I like him as one of my primary picks, but if you're looking for a late game fallback, he is definitely on the list of guys that I would consider as a later game fallback if needed. So there's a lot of options behind that, and I know chat's got even more that I'll let Reid kind of pick up when he cleans up for us.
Yeah, for me, I've gone big, and that's what I've done. This is really weird. I think what I may actually end up doing this week is just playing 3 defenders and going with that, and throwing everything into the attack with maybe a couple of guys on the bench to see what ends up happening. But I've got Tati, Martinez, and Vela right now as attackers, and so I think that's pretty. I went heavy with it just to see. I agree with Ashley that like something happens in El Tráfico every time, and Tyler confirmed it. I just don't know who. Vela has had some points. They've been assists these last couple of games. J Mart has had 3 goals in his last 4 games, or he's at least gotten on the score sheet 3 times in the last 4 games. So I like that against Austin. Austin's been. They've not been awful over their last 6. They've got several wins and some draws. They've only lost once in their last 6, but they only have 2 clean sheets in those last 6 games, and they've been to weaker teams. It was to Montreal and against I can't remember who the other one was. Charlotte. It was against Montreal and Charlotte. So they were 2 weaker teams that they kept clean sheets to. Otherwise, they've been giving up. And with Martinez's bit back into form, I feel like he has a good chance right there. Tati, it's just hard to not give him that opportunity to come back again at home, New England. That's a good. I'm like Ashley. Like I love me some Tati action right here in fantasy. So it's wild, but yeah, I mean Blayne touched on a lot of them.
I have to get in on this real quick while Tyler's calling me out. I'm not giving any Rui Diaz love this week because he's coming back from injury. Rui Diaz scores against Portland. It is very consistent in the data. But he hasn't played in 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. I don't like him fresh off of injury like that, even at home. It's going to be a big, big game. They're unveiling the Champions League banner. It's a whole big thing. It's the first Portland and Seattle game. Rui Diaz is just not my guy this week from the striker perspective because he's coming back from injury. If he played some minutes this past weekend, I think I'd feel a little different because his goal scoring production against Portland is consistent. But I can't do it this week. I'd like Jordan Morris as a bench play myself more than I would Rui Diaz, hometown kid, hates Portland. But I just can't do Rui Diaz fresh off of injury. We don't even know for sure if he's going to start. So he's too injury prone, and Seattle needs him for the rest of the year. I don't think they're going to overplay it. So I'm not in on Rui Diaz this week. Sorry, Tyler.
A lot of the names have already been mentioned. I will talk about Bo. I think for Bo, I don't know if everyone's going to be going for three forwards. I think Tati is going to be the main one that everyone's going to go with there. I prefer J Mart over Bo for this week if you're going to be going with 2, just because of his form, and I think New York could come back at home with a clean sheet. They've got some quality there. There's questions with the goalkeeping, but it could happen. I just rate Martinez more over Bo for this game. If you're going to go with 3, you could maybe bump him off with Vela. I do think some sort of El Tráfico coverage is needed, but Bo could be a solid 4. I would think if you're looking at just big name players, maybe he ekes into your 3 right there. But I'd rather have Heel if I'm going to be going with the attacking options from New England. So that's why I don't have Bo. But he's not a bad pick. It's just not one that I've gravitated to. All right, and finally, let's wrap everything up with captains. Blayne.
Haven't picked one yet. I kind of want to see lineups on that one. Probably leaning towards Lucho at this point, just because I think he's the hot guy right this minute. But that could change.
Ashley.
Yeah, I have had my captain armband draft-wise on Heel, Nico, and Lucho today. I'm also considering Tati. I know, ridiculous to captain a striker. Reid hates it, but I don't know. I think Ladero has been underperforming as a captain lately, but his points have been okay. It's a rivalry game. There's a lot of rivalry games on the table this week, so I don't see the captain choice as being as clear cut this week as it has been the past couple rounds. But those are the names that are standing out to me is Nico, Lucho, and Tati.
Yeah, it's Lucho and Ladero for me. That's where it's bounce back and forth. Another name that I've considered for a cheaper forward is possibly Brenner. He's got some of the consistency over Vasquez recently, and so if he's playing, then I might pair up Lucho and Brenner instead of going with J Mart maybe. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's between those two right there for me. Chat real quick. Yeah, that's the consistency right now. We're looking at Luchos, Laderos, silly people who are saying Blake and Savarino. I don't know. Maybe Savarino could be a differential captain if you want to go with that. But it seems by far it's going to be most likely a Lucho or Ladero captain for the majority of players this week. All right, well, that's all that we have for the show tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know it's a day off, but holidays, things, schedules, weird rounds, it just is what it is. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in as consistently as you do. Let's wrap everything else up with our plugs. Ashley.
I have no plugs. I always we do this every week, but somehow I always forget to do them. And I don't want to take the Discord plug because one of you guys will do it and you do it better than I do. But I'm going to just one more time plug Patrick and Spencer for helping me out last week to make sure that we got an episode out, and Patrick just so graciously shows up and doles out good advice and is patient with Spencer and I trying to get that going. So those are my plugs this week.
Blayne.
Nothing from me this week.
Well, then I will take the Discord plug. As always, as I mentioned earlier in the show, head over to MLSFantasyBoss.com/Discord. It's the easiest way to find out how to become a member of our Discord community. Free advice, good times, chatting. It's a great place, and I encourage everyone to come out. With FPL starting back up, there'll be some chats about that as well, but you can also look at our sister Discord, the Total FPL server as well. And I tweeted about them earlier today, so check that out if you want to. Great community that's been around for a long time, even before they moved to Discord. So yeah, head over, check that out. MLSFantasyBoss.com. We'll have this show right there, both formats, the differentials, and if things slow down a little bit for me, come back from vacation with all my email, I'll try to get out the rest of the articles that I haven't been able to do lately because of crazy schedules. But yeah, all that MLSFantasyBoss.com. And if you haven't, head over to our Patreon, MLS Fantasy Insiders Patreon, patreon.com/MLSFI to find out how you can be a supporter of this show. And very soon, now that the move is pretty much, things are in boxes, but we're all here in the house, I'll be getting back onto the swag to get some more updates about that and sending out the cool things that we're doing for this year. So yeah, check out all of that. And as always, good luck.